All right, hey there. Good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is here. Chris Franks with Texas West Capital. It's just a few minutes after 11 a.m. Central Standard Time here on Tuesday, the 8th of June, 2021. In a beautiful but again overcast and rain likely coming kind of day here in Boerne, Texas. As I've said before, man, we sure can't complain about the rain. We've been in a drought for a while here, so especially somebody who enjoys the lake and the rivers and things like that. Looking forward to more rain coming in and filling them up, as long as the severe weather stays away with it. Oh, let's see here. Who's here? Oscar's here. What's going on? Q the Action is here. Nevlusian, R.A. Mark, what's up? Carol is here. Excuse me. Claudio, Common Man checking in. Bianca checking in for the Netherlands, where she says it is shining brightly out there. The sun, that is. So good to have her checking in. Aramis is here. Pumping Jack Flash. What's up, man? Coming in from Budapest. Always looking forward to seeing you, man. I love the name. Still today. Mike Robbins says, what a spike on Sol that just started. Yeah. Everything's about to get it looks like everything's getting a little bit of a bounce at the moment, but the downtrends seem pretty serious for those that are in a downtrend right now. So, we'll kind of take a look at that. Nothing we haven't warned y'all about. Again, I haven't been one of those ones that just says up, up, up. And y'all know that. And there's a reason for that. The reason being what we've dealt with for a few months now. So we'll see how this all is potentially headed here. Excuse me. What's going on, Data? Brian's here. Mike's here. Toby. Marco Sullivan. What's up, man? Crypto Critical checking in. Onyx King is here as well. Is that Kagan? Good to see you. Let's see here. Toby says it's sunny in London. I love how we get these groups of people. We have a large group here. I can't even think of the words. Words are hard, guys. Hopefully that won't be the case for the rest of this show. But we've got a large group of both members and just people that just watch the stream here from the UK. And we love that. And then, of course, we've got some over there in Czechoslovakia and Budapest. We've got a good little group from the Netherlands as well. I've even got one or two people from Japan, a few people from Australia. So, and then, of course, down in South America, we're getting more and more out from South America, which I love as well. Because at the end of the day, guys, whatever your personal bias is about Bitcoin, I'm here to just help you try and trade it correctly. Rather than, because your personal bias could be wrong, guys. Bitcoin could end up going out of, just basically whatever happens, the government all gets on and says, you know what, you can't have it. And of course, there are going to be people that are still going to do it, trying to do it under the government's nose. But, in the grand scheme of things, you guys are not going to have the price appreciation you're looking for if you don't have an institutional interest. And, if government says, nope, can't do it, well, then there's no institutional interest. So, it is what it is. I've got some other thoughts about Bitcoin, though. Again, guys, I've told you I don't believe that Bitcoin is this great. It was created as this great savior from the powers that be, from the wealthy, from the elite, from those in control. I think it was launched under the guise of that to make you believe that, to make you accept it and to adopt it and to be ferociously supportive of it. Laser eyes, diamond hands, all that silly stuff. But at the end of the day, if you step, guys, it's hard sometimes when you're really emotionally involved in something to step back and really look at it. But if you can do that, you'll see that it's a lot easier to control people. It's a lot easier to follow people, to watch people, than it is to move you away from all that. And so to me, it seems more like, that Trojan horse, they slip it in where y'all are thinking it's this one big, great, thing that's going to make you make things so much better for you. And in the end, it actually just is this way to control you more. But, I may talk on and off about that a bit. I know a lot of you guys don't want to hear that. And I'm not here to make you feel bad or to scare you or to any of that other stuff, guys. I'm just here to kind of just, show you what I'm thinking and why. those of you that know, my structured educational background, none of this is just pulling out of my rear end. And I discuss this with people who, have greater educational, structured education than I do as well, just to kind of bounce it off, ideas and try and look at different ways. But man, it really looks much more like a form of tracking and control than it does anything else. But that doesn't mean you can't make money with it, guys. That doesn't mean you can't make money with it. And that should be the goal there. All right. So, excuse me. What's going on there, Sean? Good to have you following, man. Yes, we've got some people from Africa as well, Mark. Yes, exactly. I love that as well. And the reasons why I love these areas like South America and Africa is because they're looking for something different. Their governments are very corrupted in a lot of areas. And so people, from those regions understand corruption on a much more realistic scale than what we do here in the U.S. Our government's corrupt. All governments are corrupt, guys. That's all there is to it. It doesn't. I firmly believe that power doesn't make people. It doesn't corrupt people. There was that old saying, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think so. I think power in itself just draws to it those who intend to use it. Now, whether they intend to be nefarious or otherwise in their usage of it, at the end of the day, the fact is they are going to use it. And if you're going to use power against people, you're going to use it against groups of people, which means somebody is necessarily going to get hurt. And, it's hard to be supportive of a system like that. It really is. If you care about other people. Now, if you come from this whole idea that, it's everybody for themselves, damn whatever may come. I think at the end of the day, if it comes down to you and, whether you live or survive, sure, it's you. I mean, that's just biology, guys. But I think other than that, I think there's some wiggle room in there in how you can act and react and treat people and whatnot. So, but anyway, we'll maybe talk about a little bit of that. You know how I get sometimes. Hey there, just in time. Jack checking in from Amsterdam. Good to have you, buddy. Let's see here. Is that Maria? Maria checking in from Bulgaria? Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Mark, get out of California, buddy. Oh, man. I don't know how you live there. I mean, it's beautiful. I've been to some places in California, real pretty areas, but, man, the government out there is just absolutely, oh, man, I don't know that, so many laws and regulations and everything becomes so much more expensive and, just awful. Ruben checking in from Puerto Rico. Man, I love you guys. I love you guys telling me where you're from. This is awesome. I love to know that we've got this great group of people checking in from everywhere. By the way, guys, hey, if you want to join us, do so at howtotradetowin.com. But I'm going to tell you, wait. Because y'all know, every once in a while I'll do a discount. And it's been a while since we've done one. So, and you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. Today, we're going to do our yearly Tier 3 because I really just think Tier 3 is the place to be at. And I think the longer that you spend time in there, much more adept you're going to be at trading. So here's what I'm going to do. Hang out today. Follow me either on Twitter at TX West Capital, okay? TX West Capital. Capital as in money, not as in the capital of a place or whatever. Follow me there or be on the free side of our Discord. And so if you want to get into our Discord there, maybe you don't have Twitter or something, you can do that right here. And I'm going to tell you what, do that. And I'm going to give y'all a chance to get our Tier 3, our yearly Tier 3 at half the price. I'm going to do 50% off. I'm going to release it today. It'll probably only be for a couple of days because it's such a huge discount. But man, oh man, guys, I'm such a believer in sticking around for a few months and really kind of getting a feel for it all and going through, again, over 100 hours of video education at this point now, I believe we have, 2 live streams a week right now, one with Elliott Wave and then the other with tips, tricks, and techniques. And we're about to get a third one going with Wyckoff every week for you guys in Tier 3. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to announce that there on Twitter and there in Discord and on the free side of Discord there. So if you want to jump in that'll get you half off the current full price of Tier 3 there, all right? So Yeah, just to help, the new people, or maybe if you've joined here recently and maybe you're paying the month to month on the tier 3 there. Man, this will get you so much better off if you can afford a few months up basically up front to do that. It's going to be huge for you. So I'm going to do that. All right, guys. Nicholas checking in from Sweden. I love it, man. By the way, I want to go visit Sweden sometime. It looks so cool out there, man. I've seen some videos. Holy crud, man. Looks beautiful out there. Hey there, Crypto Girl. Good to see you. Bryce, what's going on? Blockchain Gains is here as well. Harrison, you checking in from Brazil? Oh, man. I'll tell you what. Brazil, beautiful beaches, beautiful women, man. Such a friendly group of people. Most of the people I've talked to from Brazil seem very, very friendly as well. So glad to have you here. Diane checking in from South Africa. Says our people need this. Man, I hear you there. Again, so much corruption over, the decades over there. And I just mean, like I said, all governments are corrupt, but just so blatantly corrupt, Yeah. Clarence checking in from Malaysia. Wow, you guys are awesome. And Bryce, you're coming in from France, buddy? Man. And then I got my buddy Mason here from the DFW up here at Texas. By the way, guys, Texas is cool. If you haven't been, it'll take you a couple of days to drive from one end of the state to the other, just so you know. I know people in other countries in Europe find that a little hard to understand. Yeah, you can jump from Germany to France to whatever, all pretty quick there in a day. But man, yeah, Texas is just kind of its own place there. Let me see here. Common message is from St. Louis, Missouri, which is pretty lame at this point. Croc in from Paris. Man, I love you guys. Yeah, man, Bryce, you're talking about Biden. He's going to speak about crypto regulations at G7. Yeah, man. This is something, guys, those of you that have been following me for a few years, man, there should be so many bells going off in your head. These are everything that we talked about that I said would be coming up probably in the next 2 to 3 years. And I said this from 2018 and 19. And here we are in 2021, and these things are all happening. We're getting the institutional move here. We're getting more regulation coming in. This is definitely not a surprise, guys. It's what was expected. It's what's coming in. And we'll just have to see how the market reacts to all this. We'll have to see how this regulation goes. But, man, I'll tell you what, guys. Clarence, hey, appreciate you being here, man. But yeah, and it's not just in the U.S. It's going to be worldwide, guys. We heard that El Salvador, I think it's who it was, right, is going to make Bitcoin legal tender there. They say, well, why wasn't there a big, huge move in price? Because it's El Salvador, guys. I mean, small little country, one of the most dangerous countries to live in the world as far as murder rate per capita. It's just... It's not a lot to get excited about, but so with the regulations, Bitcoin will not be volatile at all. Sure, it will. It'll still be volatile. It depends on what the regulations are really, and who all's applying them, and where it's all coming from. I mean, that's really what it's going to depend on. I've warned since 2018, when I started doing these live streams, that we were going to get to a point in the next few years where, the idea, especially here in the U.S., the IRS is not going to, it's hard for the IRS to go after individuals by themselves, but what they do is they incorporate banks and, in this case, on and off ramps to the crypto world to do their work for them. They have to monitor you, and then they tell the IRS when you're doing these things that the IRS is looking for. And so, again, regulation is just going to make it more, it's going to make it more, instead of just the agency setting up the rules or whatever, it's going to be more codified. And so, yeah, it's going to be a lot more difficult. I mean, guys, if you're out there trying to hide what you're making here in the U.S., especially what you're making, don't think you're going to get away with, I didn't know. The judges are not going to listen to that nonsense. They're going to say, well, you should have known. It's not an excuse. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse for most judges. Especially with something like crypto here, where they want to make examples at first. Now, if you haven't reported so far, now you can go back in and you can report what you haven't reported and just pay those back taxes, and you should be fine, guys. But my God, if you're just purposely not reporting your taxes on it, that's tax evasion. That's a federal crime. And so, again, especially if you've got large profits, guys, over $10,000 or more. And you go, man, that's not that large. Yeah, actually, that's where you're kind of looking at, really. So just make sure you go back in there, get your taxes settled, deal with it. And you can even do that online, guys. You can redo your taxes and submit it online. And then if it says you have a tax bill due, you can go online. You don't have to deal with anybody. You can just go online to the IRS site and set up a payment plan. Just like that. So, if you're scared about actually dealing with somebody or whatever, don't be. Again, most of the people who are in the IRS, guys, are just people doing a job. They're not like, most of them aren't this hell-bent, oh, you're going to pay your taxes or I'm going to throw you in jail kind of thing. Because, IRS doesn't actually throw you in jail. The DOJ does the dirty work there. But they're just people trying to do a job. And if you go in there and you talk to them and you try to work through it, most of them are going to be pretty darn helpful in getting that done. So just some thoughts there, guys. I come on here, I say it, and I'm not a big fan of taxes, but I'm even lesser of a fan of going to federal prison. So I'm going to try and say what I can there, guys, and hopefully you'll listen and, kind of deal with that, okay? Man, you got Paraguay, Miami. Man, love you guys. Texas is a small state. And I'm from Queensland, Australia, nearly 3 times the size. Yes, Australia itself is huge. Yeah. Texas is just one state of the U.S., though. But yeah. Australia is definitely large. Alaska is larger than Texas, but a lot less populated there. We've got a lot of people and a lot of square miles, so yeah. Yeah, be happy you had profit to pay taxes. Sure. Hey there, Spiral Architect. Good to see you guys. Let me see here. Mark says, imagine if it became illegal for TSLA to hold Bitcoin. Yeah, well, that'd be quite an unloading market for sure. Yeah, I think, honestly, this is something I told you guys a couple years ago that I was looking at. If the government got really... I don't see the government getting rid of Bitcoin because, again, my thought is that Bitcoin and this idea of cryptocurrencies was created by, an alphabet agency as a way to move the U.S. from fiat, from physical dollars to completely electronic. We've been kind of going there with the move, the credit cards and debit cards and all that kind of thing. But I think this has been a way to incorporate that move from all that physical cash to now it's all on the ledger and whatnot. Because one, again, it makes it easier to track. Two, there's ways that it can get them out of this debt overload that they're on at the moment. But I think the other reason for that is, again, the U.S. dollar is the world reserve currency. And, we talk about the U.S. and it being easy to track U.S. citizens and their taxes and terrorism and all this stuff. Imagine how much easier it is for the U.S. to track what's going on in the world with the other countries and whatnot. If everybody, if it goes to their, not necessarily Bitcoin, but to its own, stable coin system that continues to run as the as the world reserve currency. I mean, the control, not just over U.S. citizens, but over the rest of the world becomes huge. And so, I think that's probably more likely what's going on than this whole idea that it's some freeing thing. Because nothing in Bitcoin makes it this move away from your biggers, from your elites, from those in control. Nothing in Bitcoin. Matter of fact, everything in Bitcoin makes it easier for them to continue doing what they're doing. So that's what I kind of see there, okay? Let's get rid of this guy real quick. Add to block list. Sorry about that, guys. Let me see here. All right, well, Aram, again, guys, you don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to be a jerk to say something different, man. Again, in life, the way you approach people says a lot about who you are as a person and the way, that you deal in life. And, the way you're doing it isn't very cool. It makes it seem like you've got a lot of issues going on, so don't do that, man. That's not cool. Oh, you don't disagree with it? It looks like you're saying. You said, here we go again with a dude saying it's made by NSA, but it took 4 weeks to get the key to take that Bitcoin from Colonial. When you say colonial, are you talking about the pipeline thing? The colonial pipeline thing is going on there? Yeah. But explain why it would take them 4 weeks to recover. Well, just because you create a system doesn't mean that you necessarily have a back door. Listen, the idea of Bitcoin is to get you... Okay. So when you talk about what governments do in terms, or anybody in terms of psyops, right? The idea is to get people to believe a thing, which is just a Trojan horse, right? So if you get people to believe this Bitcoin is this great savior against the elites and whatnot, it gets you to accept it, gets you to fight fiercely harder, it gets you to do stupid laser eyes and stupid diamond hands and all that just nonsense, right? And guys, I'm really serious about it. It is nonsense. It's just the silliness. If you've been trading for any number of years outside of crypto, you're going to know what I mean, okay? But this is this fanaticism that you need to drive growth and acceptance at first, which then gets everybody, and so then everybody else kind of gets in, right? And so then what you do, it's not about getting you into Bitcoin, it's getting you into cryptocurrency, the idea of a distributed ledger. And then, as I said, the U.S. comes in with its own stable coin, just like, Japan, or China and everybody else trying to do, right? And so what they do is they condition you to accept it. That's what this is all about. It's not about Bitcoin. It's about conditioning you to accept the idea of distributed ledgers and everything going in that way. That's what it's all about. Hegelian dialectic, and the government is very good at it. Yeah. All governments are about power, guys. And the problem with power is the more you get, the more obsessed you become with it, the more concerned you are that you're going to lose it, which means you end up, producing more and more regulations and laws. And as we look in history, that's what governments do. You start with a few laws, they become this big old huge thing of laws, until it eventually comes down. We'll see what happens there, right? But yeah, like Mark's saying here, they don't need access to the actual coins. They just need to see where it's being sent and who is sending and receiving it. Yeah, so here's the thing. All they have to do is figure out what wallet you have. And as long as they know what wallet you have, they can track you, through all your moves and whatnot going on. And as long as they can track all that, you can never really spend it. Because even if you spend it to buy something, there's the track. So all I have to see is, okay, well, who bought this? And then they follow all the other paperwork. It's all about, control. So yeah, but it is what it is, guys. Again, my background, in case you don't know, I've got a master's in Homeland Security. I've got a master's degree in applied psychology. I've got a law degree. I've got, my, undergrad was a, what do you call it? Interdisciplinary. And so it had focuses on finance, economics, and political theory / philosophy, philosophical leanings of political philosophy, political theory. And so, this is where all of my kind of comes through. So, it's not like I just pull this out of my rear end or I try to be some kind of conspiracy theorist or anything. But when you step back and look at the things that make Bitcoin what it is, it's a lot more about control than it is anything else. It's a lot more about the ability to control. And that's what concerns me. Now, again, that doesn't mean you can't make money with it. You still make money with it, sure. But I'm concerned about people that are believing the opposite, because that may not do anything for them good, in the long run, as far as trying to create some kind of wealth. As far as I'm concerned, guys, wealth is your ultimate freedom. It allows you, time to do the things you want to do. It allows you the ability to do the things you want to do, even if government or somebody says you can't. You always find somebody who's willing to do it for a price, right? So, just some thoughts there, guys. Yeah. Homeland Security is just basically, think of it as federal law enforcement. That's what it is. And natural disaster and other disaster planning. So in my Homeland Security master's course, we looked at things like epidemics. We looked at things like dirty bombs, how they did. We looked at all these different ways that you can attack, with that, and as well as how the government plans for things like that and whatnot. So, yeah. So, it kind of gives you an interesting look into how the government actually works. And again, then with law and then applied psychology and all these things kind of really built on top of that, that political theory background. So, yeah. But, again, guys, I can't guarantee you that's what's going on. But if I was to sit back and look at everything, I mean, that's where it seems like it's going. So that's why, to me, it's even more important to understand how to trade properly so you can make money on this, right? I don't know about the FBI thing yet on Colonial. I haven't read enough about that yet. But I plan to do that this week, so it should be interesting with that. Let me see here. In Time. Oh, I've seen that, man. That's a pretty interesting movie. But okay, anyway, guys. Yeah, so there we go, guys. Let me go ahead and jump in here. Let's get it going. Let's get going here, see kind of where we're at. Like I said, if you want to join us, you're going to be able to get the Tier 3 at half price. What the current full rate is on that at half price here today sometime. I'll put the post here on, I'll mention it here on my Twitter page here, as well as on our Discord server. Once again, guys, if you don't have that Discord link, it's right there. I think that's it right there. Should take you there. So check that out there. Let me see here. Would you personally keep your money in fiat or crypto or maybe gold? Well, I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, and I know a lot of Bitcoiners don't want to hear this, but if something similar to what I'm saying is what's going on, actually holding physical gold is going to be not physical gold in somebody else's vault somewhere, but actually you having control of that, it being in your possession. I think that, and maybe silver, that's the way to go. Ultimately, end game. Because obviously, if others who are larger players, a lot more income, or a lot more wealth, whatnot, if they're seeing the same similar thing. That's the only place you put it, because otherwise, if you're putting it into fiat, which is still fine right now, by the way, guys, this isn't anything that's going to happen overnight, but if you put it into fiat, eventually that would go away. Now, again, the government could tell you, what, you can't hold gold anymore, you have to turn it in like they did, 100 years ago. Wow, wouldn't that be something to have them do that again here 100 years later? But, yeah, I mean, ultimately, fiat would go out, but it wouldn't be anything that happens overnight. So long game would be that. But in the meantime, you'd probably see, a commodity crash kind of thing coming in before that. Quite possibly. I'm still looking at that as well. So, yeah. All right, listen here. I'm going to go ahead and put you in timeout because you keep just repeating the same thing. Yeah. Thank you, Underground Sounds. I'm just catching that, so I'm kind of pushing them out of there or putting them in timeout. So we'll see you there. Let's see here. All right, so anyway, let's go right here. So Bitcoin, what are we looking at? Well, all right, listen, if you're going to sit here and keep doing this, we're just going to block you, put you in timeout, all that fun stuff. I don't have enough time for people to sit here and just flood the chat with nonsense. So this is what we've been talking about. Remember, either the triangle or the 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So I've already told, Discord already the other day that we were looking at this as a triangle. We've had the breakdown through, below wave D, which is the first clue that the triangle may be complete. Further breakdown below wave B should confirm the triangle. We got that here with this drop this morning. Dropped just below it. Let's see here. Ari, you're funny, man. Yeah, so what I left Discord with this morning is that we've got this as a 1, 2 and this wave 3 in progress here. This is a very short wave 4, but I think what we may have here, I told this to Discord, was if we got this reversal back up toward this area, we could look at this as potentially a flat correction here. All right? And so that's what I'm kind of looking at the moment. The other possibility, of course, is that we got this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we got a 5 still coming down. Now, wave 3 here, this wave circle 3, has a minimum target of 29,354. That's the 1618 extension. And that's, usually where we look for wave 3 to hit. So if we go here and we measure out wave 1, there, wave 2, it gets you right down there to that. So a couple of things is potentially happening here. Either wave 5 is going to, this wave parentheses 5 of 3 is going to come on down here, or this may just be 1 of 3. And so 3 is going to be much lower. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we've got a lot more likelihood of price ending in this area, kind of as we've got it here. And I think so because if we go out to the daily here, Stochh RSI is almost reset into oversold. Let me show you here. There we go. And so what do we have here? Well, we've got basically this swing low. So we've got higher lows right here, right? Bullish divergence potentially if this one drops below the swing low here. Now, I was talking to Discord about the idea that we may see a candle similar to this. Maybe not, it doesn't have to be as big, but long lower wick, body closing, candle closing up toward the top, the body at the top there, coming through there where it just kind of dips down below and then comes back up. And that would potentially give us this bullish divergence right here because you'll get the lower low in price and you'll get the higher lows here on the oscillator. And at the same time, you may be able to get price here to dip down into oversold. So we're kind of looking at that. Now, here's my other thought. We've been looking at this area, this 24 to 25,000 area since we've been up here, right? And right now we've moved in sideways between the pivot and the S1. So either we hit the pivot, reject, and come down to the S1, or we break out through the pivot and continue higher, or we hit the S1 area here and then head up. Now, usually we look for the S1, but in this case, we actually have a high volume node here, just a bit higher, around 27,000, 26.9 right here. And so to me, that seems like we might not make it to the S1. We might just kind of hit this area if we are. And if we look at the targets here, look at that. The pattern target based on the height of the triangle is 26,711. And that takes us it takes us into this high volume node here, right about the EQ of this demand structure over here. So I've got, and if we measure out this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in circles here, that gets us right about that same area. It gets us to about 27,285. So there's a lot of confluence in that area there. So ultimately, I'm kind of looking for a dip down below this. We've got this local range here that picks up right about that area and then maybe takes off from that. That's what I'm kind of looking at the moment here. Distribution locally happened up here. But again, I'm also looking at something I talked to you guys back probably about a week or two ago, is this area as an event or as the structure. And so this right here, this change of character right here, this would be your preliminary supply, your PSY. And then you get your buying climax, and then you get your automatic rally down here, and then you'll get a move up. And so, you potentially could see something like this and heading up. But here's the whole thing. If this is the structure, then this is just phase A. This is just the stopping phase up here. And then this becomes phase B, which is going to play out for a while. But the question is, what's going on here? Is this a 1, 2, 3, 4 is a triangle, and a 5? I think that's the most likely scenario at this point. When this hit down here, we talked about how it hit the 1618 extension, wave 3 here, of this, 1, 2, 3. And then a triangle's a 4. I mean, it's almost too clean as an Elliott wave, movement there to say it's anything other than probably 5 waves down. But so the question is, if this is the top here, then this 5 down is only going to be wave A. You're going to get 3 up for B and then 5 more down for wave C, which again brings us down toward this, 16 to 20 area down here, this high volume node, at least. Okay? But remember, I was talking previously, this assumes that this is the top here. Remember, I had talked when we were back over here, when we were looking at the possibility of maybe a triangle. And I said, if there's a possibility of a triangle, then there's also the possibility that we could have a flat, right? And so if we see this is 3, and this is 4, and this is 5, which is 3 here, we may have an ABC down, ABC up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives us C here. And that just completes this flat correction. And if that's the case, we're going to see price heading on up and out. So we've got a couple of possibilities here, but all of them kind of all look at this further move down and then a move up. And then either it continues up or it comes back down lower. So you don't have to know which one it is at the moment. You just have to continue down with it and then continue up with it. And then at that point, you kind of say, okay, does price get rejected and head back down, or do we continue higher? And that kind of lets you know where you are in terms of price action. And doing that will probably give you a quicker window to what may be going on in terms of this larger structure here, in terms of Wyckoff. But remember, Wyckoff is not a forecasting theory, okay, or a forecasting method. It's to help you understand what's going on in a range so that you have an idea of where price may be headed out of that range, whether it's up or down. Elliott Wave is a forecasting method. Elliott Wave gives you ideas of where price may be headed overall. So don't, when people says, is this Wyckoff distribution or this whatever? This is distribution right up here. But it could be just the beginning of this larger structure here. And this larger structure, the move up, we can hit 85, 95,000, maybe even 180,000, as a, upthrust and upthrust after distribution and back down kind of thing. Or at least, this becomes maybe, I don't know, maybe this becomes some sort of reaccumulation before some kind of blow off top that hits up here at maybe 186, 189. And then you get a short distribution up here, and it drops down, and then you get a redistribution, and then it drops down, and another redistribution, it drops down, kind of like similar to what you may have had here. You have this short distribution, and you have this redistribution, here, and then, of course, you have your reaccumulation or your accumulation down here, moves up. So we'll have to see how this does play out here. But locally, right now, the idea should be that price is most likely headed lower overall. The only thing that changes that is if we get some kind of impulsive movement up above this 1 hour and 4 hour pivot here, right around 36,500 or so. If we get an impulsive breakout above that, then we need to look at what's going on here and maybe change something. But prior to that happening, overall, we should be looking for further down here. Let's see here. Let's see here. Is it possible the FBI has the technology to break the encryption? Oh, yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, everybody thought Tor was untraceable until the FBI got the graduate students over there at Cambridge in their information security program over there to break the Tor encryption. And remember, Tor was created by the Navy for use for the military prior to it being released for everybody. So when you say, oh, but Bitcoin, why couldn't they just why did it take them 4 days to get the keys or something like that? I mean, again, guys, just because they do it doesn't mean that they have a way to break it at that point. But yeah, so it's possible, sure. But these are all bigger ideas, because the idea is that you understand, guys, when you look at the charts, you need to understand what your options are. Now, those of you that are less experienced as traders, you're going to say, oh, well, look, he said it could do this or it could do that or it could do that. Yeah, that's what trading's all about. It's understanding where your invalidation and your validation levels are. If you are the type that believes that you have to know what's going on at any point, get the heck out of trading. You're going to lose every dollar you have. You may get lucky for a little bit and make some money, but at the end of the day, you're going to lose it all. Trading, there are no guarantees in trading. You will never know what's going to happen. You will have ideas about what may happen. And, sometimes those ideas are going to have better, what's the term? support than other days, better confluence of factors. But keep that, go and get that silliness out of your head that you think that you're going to get to a point where you're going to know what's going on with trading. How do I know? Because I've been doing this for 25 years now? That's how I know. Anybody tells you differently is just trying to get you to give them your money, and they don't care about that you're actually learning anything. If they guarantee you something and it comes and it happens, understand that it was luck. A real trader is not going to guarantee you that anything's going to happen in the markets. Somebody's been doing it for years successfully, guys. They're not going to do it. And I know it's hard to believe for some of y'all who are new and you want to believe that there's guarantees and whatever. But that's just silly nonsense. You need to get it out of your head because it's just going to cause you to lose money. The important thing is to understand what may be happening. Now, in my case, I happen to know a lot of different ways to trade because I've been doing this for so long. And so bringing them together is where it's at. But again, like I said, you don't have to know overall where it's going to go right now because right now it's likely going to head down and then up. And then at this point we decide, okay, is it going to continue up higher, in which case it makes it much more likely this is the bottom and we're going up? Or is it going to get rejected right here and continue down lower, in which case this makes this A, B, and then C going down? It's as simple as that. Everything I just said right there in those couple of words. So, I mean, yeah. Just the way to look at it. So, again, guys, trading, to successfully trade over time, guys, it's an understanding of what your validation and invalidation levels are and proper risk management. If you can do those two things, you're light years ahead of pretty much everybody else in the space in trading, and you've got a lot more chance of being successful. All right? But the moment you start believing that anybody knows exactly what's going to happen at any time, and, they can guarantee you it, is really where you're going to start losing a lot of money. Because what happens is, the worst thing that happens is they get lucky and they get it right, and then you're going to believe that, oh my gosh, they know what they're talking about, they can guarantee it all the time. And then they're going to get it wrong consistently for quite a while after that. And at the time, you're just about down to your last dollar, and you think, I'm just going to give up on this guy or gal. They're going to get it right again, and it's going to renew your belief that they know what they're talking about. And then you go in there, and so you'll bring out more money from, from your savings or whatever to put it back in there, and you'll lose that as well. Guys, I'm telling you now, if you haven't gone through this, you will go through that if that's your thought process. This is the way the new traders often, unfortunately, enter markets. There's no difference between crypto, Forex, equities. I've been through them all. I've traded them all, guys. There's a lot of similarities between what goes on with crypto and what goes on with Forex, because Forex is heavily leveraged, gives you heavy leverage availability. So a lot of the same scams, a lot of the same telling you what you want to hear happens in both. There's a lot of parallels for new traders. Unfortunately, they're all pretty bad for the new trader, for them. So yeah. Do I strictly trade spot, or do you use any futures options? It depends on what I'm trading. Yeah, I don't have any problems using leverage. Or options or futures or whatever. It just depends on the market I'm trading in and when I'm trading it and what I'm looking for. These days for me, I'm not trying to get rich overnight. I've got what I've got. So for me, it's a lot more about smart decisions when I'm in there. As new traders, many of y'all are often looking for I see this in these Facebook groups all the time now. What coin should I get that's under, 1,000 Satoshis that's going to go up 100 times in the next 3 weeks? This is what I see all the time, guys. If that's you, just get out of the market. You're going to lose your money. But again, that's the stage of this that we're in. And people are going to try and do that, and they're going to lose a lot of money. And they do it all the time, guys. It's the story, it's the story of the ages when it comes to markets. Nothing ever changes. I always get that question, well, aren't you scared that if you tell everybody how to trade that it's not going to be successful anymore? No, because every time, every new cycle, we've got, first of all, most people aren't going to listen to me anyway, and they're not really wanting to learn how to trade. They're not willing to put the time and effort into it. But beyond that, there's always a new group of people that repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Now, I've been fortunate enough, you could say. I've been through the 2001 dot-com bubble. I've been through the 2008 great financial crisis. And now here we are here. So I've been through it a few times. So I can tell you emphatically, without any reservation, that what you're seeing with retail right now, maybe what you're feeling if you're a new trader that got in because of FOMO, is exactly the same thing that happens at every other market top. So we'll see what happens here. By the way, guys, we're looking for some movement up, but there's nothing here that guarantees that this is not the top right now. And this is something I've been talking about coming up to this. So I think there's a good chance that maybe this is a 3 and we've got a 4 and we've still got a 5 to go at least. But there's nothing that guarantees that this isn't 5 up here and done already. Okay? You know, a few months ago, everybody was talking about, oh, look at all that money that's moved off Coinbase. Look at all the money's leaving the exchanges. It's definitely bullish. And I told you at the time, I said, you know, that may have been the case before, you know, prior coming up into 2017. But since 2017, the big thing about, you know, not your keys, not your crypto, you know, getting everybody to pull their crypto off the exchanges and hold off the exchanges. We've had that. We've had these Quadency or whatever that exchange was up in Canada that went under, you know, that the CEO passed away or whatever, and he had the only keys to the wallets, right? And then Cryptopia, of course. You got all this, and so we've had this over the last few years. I told you, I said I don't think that's a good metric of whether, you know, the market's strong or not. I think it's just, and if you've got new institutional players coming in, yeah, they have to pull it. They can't leave it on the exchange. They've got laws and rules and things they have to follow. They have to have it custodied. Which means they're going to have to pull it off the exchange, right? So all those things makes that a very poor metric to look at. But, and you know, here's the proof. Lowest, you know, they had the lowest amount of Bitcoin ever on the exchanges all up in here, right? And then look, big move down from 65 down to 29, 30,000 so far. So, you know, be careful some of the things that you guys are believing is truth out there right now, especially if you're new. Man, you guys are talkative today. Quadriga, yeah, that's it. Thanks, Mark. Is this person, let me see here. Let me see. Can I get rid of them? Let me see. What do I think about ICT? I think they give some good points. They have some good stuff, I think. I incorporate some or variations of what they teach with my personal style. So yeah, I think they're okay. You know, 2017, if you guys were in the market back then and in crypto, you'll know every week basically we saw a new style. So ICT one week, and then Wyckoff the next week, and then Elliott Wave the next week, and then supply and demand the next week. I mean, it was ridiculous. Traders were not spending the time and putting in the effort that they needed to really learn a system or a technique. But they were saying, oh, after a couple of days of not really trying at all, they were saying, oh, it doesn't work. Silliness, right? You think this looks like a huge head and shoulders right here? Man, I'll tell you what. So here's the one thing you have to look at. If this is a huge head and shoulders here, you're looking for a target. Remember this. You're looking for a target here from the top to the bottom there of about 36,500. Now, what's the problem with that is that low there, right around this 29,000 area, that gives you a negative target. So is this a head and shoulders? No. Because the target would take you to negative 5,000. So you know this isn't a head and shoulders here. Because you're doing it based on the height of that right there, subtracted from this neckline right here. Now, that doesn't mean this isn't an important neckline. This is an important support. But it just means that this isn't a head and shoulders. Yeah. So, yeah. Let me see here. So how this goes depends on what your time frame is, guys. If you are an investor and you plan to hold for another 5 years, then it may make no difference whether you hold here or not, okay? You know, again, think of if you're an investor and you bought up here at the tops, 15 to 20,000, in the grand scheme of things, it really made no difference. You're still up 3 times your money up here. 3.25 times your money at our top right there. And if you're still holding for years out and you expect it to continue higher, I mean, you're still good to go. If you're a trader, there's a difference. I think a lot of people in the space right now call themselves traders. They think they're traders, but then they're really just trying to buy the bottom and just hold it for the ride all the way up, which doesn't make you a trader. It makes you an investor with the, trying to buy the bottoms. And if you're trying to sell the tops and the bottoms, these events, the absolute tops and bottoms, you're going to lose money in the long run. Yeah. The idea is to understand where tops may be and sell in that area, because the top is a range. The bottom is a range. The goal is not to buy the absolute bottom or sell the absolute top. It's to sell within that range at the top area, or to buy within that range at the bottom area. That's the goal. Anything else is just going to cause you to lose money, because you're just trying to get that single dollar there, which is silly. But if you're a new trader, you may not know that's silly. So yeah. Let me see here. Let's see here. The mod is, oh my gosh. Why do we got, come on guys. Let's try to act like adults. Can we do that? I mean, if you come in here acting like a fool, I mean, you're telling people all they need to know about you, which is sad. Don't do that, okay? Just play real, man. Be real. But anyway, so there's kind of what we're looking at here. So at the end of the day, guys, still looking for further down overall. The only thing to me that would change that is if we were to get a breakout above this, an impulsive breakout above this 1 hour, 4 hour pivot up here. As long as we're below that, the count can change a little bit or whatnot as it needs to, but we should be continuing lower. Again, we have dropped below wave B here, so we should have confirmed this triangle now. And so that triangle target is down here at around 26,711, which puts us pretty close to the EQ of the demand structure here, right around 27,039, and then the potential wave 5 minimum target here of 27,289, that kind of $500 range there. So yeah. Let's see here. Let me see here. So there's what we have with that. Let's see. If we look at the dollar, the dollar again, guys, still hasn't made anywhere near enough up to kind of say it's definitely bottomed or anything. Remember, we got to get it up here above 94.741. We're keeping, we're trying to see what the count is here locally, but this is the macro, this is the January low here at 89.209. So that's the macro low. So if that's the reversal, I mean, yeah, we could see some, again, you get this right here. You see how you have this sideways right here? And then again, we're building sideways here before potentially moving up. So everybody thinks the dollar's got to go lower. So, maybe it's going to be a big trap. It's going to get right here where it is, pretty close to it, and then take off up. So we're kind of watching that as price continues to play out right here. But ultimately, what you need to look for is, does it drop down below 89.209? If it does, then we've got the fifth wave in progress. If it doesn't, and it continues to break out here above 94.741, then the bottom's back in January, that macro low down there at 89.209. And if that is to happen, I think that's going to catch a lot of people off guard. Now, if we look at this in relation with everything else, we can notice, again, Bitcoin's pulling back and other cryptos as well. Obviously, the whole space is kind of pulling back. We've got, let's see here. We've got NASDAQ here. Let me pull up this chart for you guys. Let's see. There we go. So we get the NASDAQ hitting my target up here, that's 78.6, which fills in this gap over here and hits the 78.6 there, of course. But potentially now, we'll see. It's pulled back. It's found support on this previous resistance here. What we need to see is a drop down below this swing low right here to be the first clue the top may be in. And that's right there around 13,548.93. Continued drop down here below wave B at 13,072 and 23 cents. Would add confidence to the count that it's 5 and done. It's done where this is wave 1, this is wave 2, heading down. Now, if we break out through that all-time high up here, that suggests then that this is wave 5 heading up. But for right now, solid wave 2 area. And now we just need to see if we get that follow through lower. So, the markets aren't looking too happy at the moment. So the dollar's kind of finding some support down there, and the markets are starting to kind of drop off. Remember, if the dollar's going to get stronger, the rest of the market should then feel some downward price pressure because it's taking, effectively it's taking less dollars to buy those things, right? So, hey, listen. Let's just kind of grow up here, guys. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen here. If you're going to act stupid, I'm just going to go ahead and block y'all, and that's going to be all it is. I don't have time for this. I don't sit here. I don't care that I don't have 100 million subscribers or anything. I'm not making my money off streams. I'm trying to help people out here. So it's as simple as that, guys. If you're here to really learn something, better check yourself now. If not, then you won't mind that I block you, right? Yeah, the NASDAQ here could become, the NDX there could become a good short, but you're going to want to see this breakdown here. You're going to want, right now it's just pulled back to this previous resistance here, and it's finding support and trying to rally a bit. The 1 hour hasn't quite dropped into oversold yet, though. So, yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you, sir. Sirs. I appreciate y'all. You always miss the stupidity, Kimo. It is what it is, right? Kimo Zabi. But anyway, so yeah, we're kind of watching this area right now. But here's the thing, again, we track 3 of these, every day, a couple of times a day here. So we have the NASDAQ, and we have the SPX, which is your E-minis, right? And so this E-minis, I've got 2 counts. I've got the possibility that we've got this red count here, which says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as an ending diagonal. And then I've got the possibility of 5 up here, maybe, up here toward 43.60 to finish it out. We're having some trouble right here, right now. Now we can go here and go 1, 2, and then maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe a 1, 2, 3, 4, get this 5 up. So what you're going to want to see is, do we get a drop down here below this wave 4, this red wave 4 at 41.65 and 25 cents. If we break down below that, that's going to be your first clue that the top may be in. Your first kind of little local, hyper-local kind of subtle hint clue. What you really need to see is a breakdown below this wave 4 here at $4,029.25. You get a breakdown of that, then we start really looking like, okay, we're probably headed down at that point. And so, again, then you're going to look for this, this larger wave 4 here is your next real adding support to your idea of what's going on there. But you can see we're still kind of holding on with this channel support kind of area here, but we are kind of falling toward it right now. And then if we look at the Dow Jones, which is the third one that we cover here a few times a day, as you can see here, we've potentially got a 1 with a, ABC up, ABC down, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a flat correction for a 2 here. We've dropped down, boom, rejected the pivot, hit the S1, pushed back up, trying to get through the pivot. Now, if I'm looking at this, I'm looking right here on the H1, that we're pushing up out through oversold. Now, the fact that RSI didn't get into oversold kind of weakens the idea that maybe we're headed up there, but right now it's looking pretty solid as we might get a breakout here. So what we're going to want to see here is we're going to want to see this wave 2 swing high up here at 34.849 and 32 cents hold as support. You can see that this move right here filled in this gap. And you can look, the 2 highs right here, look at both results from those highs. Both larger candles, supply candle results. So they're really selling in this area right here. So now we just need to see, does it break out back above here or does it continue down below this swing low? And if it does, again, the minimum wave 3 here is at 34,314 and 55 cents. But if wave 3 is subdividing, as it comes down here, maybe like a 1 and then another flat here is a 2, and a 3, 4, 5, that 3 could end up further down. But so we're looking at, do we get a breakout above wave 2 or a breakdown below this swing low to kind of tell us which way we're probably headed. But all these charts are kind of looking toppish at the moment. And like I said, the dollar's kind of holding its support right now. And Bitcoin and everything else also is going down. This is something we'd expect. So then we go and we look at, okay, what does TLT look like? So TLT is your longer-term government securities, right? So far, following my count here, and I've got this coming off this low back over here in the 18th of March, mid-March. I've got it as a 1, 2, 1, 2, and we're heading up here. And so this gives us then locally here, we've now hit the pattern target on the breakout of this descending channel. And we're consolidating. We had this huge gap up this morning, or end of the day yesterday, I guess, going into the morning here. So we got this huge gap up. We're trying to find support here. There's room here potentially for Stochastic RSI to move up. And of course, RSI itself could move up a bit more there too. So I've got this minimum wave 5 target up here at around the R2 pivot on the 1 hour at about 141.64. Now, why is TLT important? It's important because when people start getting fearful in the markets, they start moving their money from equities to TLT or similar long-term government securities to protect their wealth. So what's the other way we can look at that? Well, there's something I've showed you guys many times before here, which is your TLT junk ratio here. And this tells us what's going on between TLT and junk. Remember, junk are your corporate bonds. So if it's a risk-off environment, everybody's just putting money out there everywhere, then this goes down. It becomes a risk-on environment, and this goes down. But when people start changing from your government bonds to your more secure, your better protection for your value, your wealth there, the TLT, then you're going to see this start to rise. And when it's rising, it means risk off in general. And so what do we have here? We've got this breakout of this wedge, which gives us a pattern target of 1.62. We're right down here at 1.29. Locally, we pulled back, broke out. We're about to break out of this resistance area here and to head on up. So if this is going up, we should see equities starting to hurt because people are moving money out of equities into TLT. So that's why we kind of watch this. Oh, man. So, yeah. So, and we're doing the bounce here off the pivot here. Sorry, I'm just looking at just the stupidness that's coming off over there in the comments. People. Oh, not the. I'm sorry. This isn't the pivot. This is the support area here, which is where we're looking to get a break back out above. So, what we can notice, as I pointed out before, is we had this nice spike of volume down here at this support. So it tells you there's a lot of interest here. So we want to see this follow through on the upside now. Hitting that pattern target will take it above that weekly pivot there. This is the weekly, by the way. But again, as this starts, this way here, this was the March of 2020, where everything dropped. This was the low on the markets there. You see how this shot up? Everybody went to safety as it was dropping down. But you see how it was happening prior to that, though? So this was happening prior to that. But then when it happened, everybody jumped into safety. It shot up. And then as it recovered and went back up, everybody got out of the safety and started to risk on as it comes down there. So that's what we're kind of watching that there. Hey there, Got a Mark. Good to see you, man. There's idiots in the channel, so Don't engage. They'll get bored and move on. So here we go. What is this? This right here is TLT Bitcoin. That's your TLT Bitcoin ratio. This is Bitcoin price here from Coinbase. All right. So again, this is something I had talked about previously back in March or April as we were getting toward this area. And I said, you know what? I said, if we see this ratio head up, that's going to be because Bitcoin's dropping. And that's exactly what we're getting here, which means Bitcoin is related to TLT, inversely. As people move into long-term government securities for safety, risk-off environment, Bitcoin should come down. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. So definitely something maybe you want to watch as well. This is the weekly, of course, here. But look at this weekly. It's almost topped out, though. But again, it is weekly. This is just the Stochk RSI, so that's one thing. And it is weekly, which means it can stay overbought or oversold for significant periods of time. But, I mean, if we look locally here, 1, 2, 3, 4, just about to get a 5 here, which should get rejected in this area here. So we get wave 3 down, and then we get up. What does that tell me? Well, that tells me this is possibly just 5 down as A, 3 up for B, 5 more down as C, potentially. But we'll have to see how it plays out. Right now, we've got 5 waves heading up here, which means minimally it's going to be an A, B, C. All we need is a break above this swing high as we look at that. So, yeah. I don't think there's a mod mode on YouTube where they all go to the mods first. I don't think there's anything like that. Let me see here. I'll tell you what, guys. You know what? We're going to take care of this real fast, quick, and in a hurry. I used to have a lot of, quite a few mods on here back, before I was dual streaming here, back before they kicked me out of YouTube there. Let me see here. Let me see. I'm sorry, guys. Give me just 1 minute here. I'm going to give some people some mod power here to get rid of the nonsense, and that way it's a better, situation for the rest of y'all. Let's see here. How do we do that again? Let's see. Man, oh man, oh man. Should just be able to hit on the live, right? Let me see here. Your channel. Let's look for what we're hitting live right now. And let's see here. Let me see here. Yeah, Leaf, yes. Bitcoin would not be, would it be an inflation hedge? I don't think inflation's playing out as you probably think it is at the moment. I think this is just inflation is a temporary, normally what you guys on a chart would call like a bull trap. I think this inflation that's hitting right now is that. I think there'll be inflation, but I don't think that it's right now what's happening now is what y'all think is going to lead to this big, huge inflationary thing yet. I think we're going to have this deflationary bust first, and then we'll have that coming in. Let me see here. Let me kind of catch up with you guys right here. All right, I'm going to start giving some moderation privileges here, guys. And if you get them, guys, be real about it. Just get rid of the junk, the idiots. If they're people that just make a mistake, don't kick them, please. But, the people that continue to be idiots here, just get rid of them. Let me see here. Oscar, you're always here, buddy. I'm going to drop you in there as well. Let me see here. Who else can I give mod privileges to here that's usually here? Man, I see Just in Time doing a lot of work here, man. Just kind of catch up with you guys. I'm sorry, and I'll be right back to this in a minute, guys. I just need to get this done while we're here so we can kind of get this taken care of, because this is just stupid and ridiculous, and you guys don't, it doesn't help you guys at all with the nonsense. Let's see here. Let's see. All right, well, I'm going to try and, let's see here. We'll give Data Privileges. He's always here as well. So we got a few more people in there now, guys. So now you're going to get some help doing that. I do apologize. I know I don't have any control really over who comes in here and acts like idiots. But I do my best to try and keep the channel clean. Because if you're here, again, guys, I really want you to be able to pay attention and understand what I'm thinking about. Whether you agree with me or not, to at least give you something to think about. You don't have to agree with me. But if you're just ignoring me completely just because it doesn't gel with whatever your emotional bias is, I think that's a really dangerous way to be trading. Okay? I always give other thoughts to what other people are doing as well there. So, yeah. Do I have beginner videos on YouTube? I don't really have beginner videos on YouTube. You can join us at howtotradetowin.com at tier 2. And there's we've got a probably about a 12 or 13 hour set of videos that starts at the very beginning and kind of moves itself up. That you might enjoy there. Tier 3, we also do weekly, live streams and everything for our Tier 3 members, as well as, so that's got like over 100 hours of video content there. But I don't have anything, a whole bunch anywhere really for free out here on this. So, yeah. Let's see here. Luke, you're welcome, man. Yeah. Let's see here. Cryptophagia, you're very welcome, of course. Let's kind of see what we're looking at here. So, again, guys, I know that the idea that everybody's pushing is Bitcoin is inflation hedge, which would, and then so they expect Bitcoin to continue up even if the other markets go down, right? But that isn't the way it happens, because the other markets are going down. It's usually a deflationary issue. There's usually a bout of deflation that's happening that causes the other markets to drop. And so if that happens, even if we assume that Bitcoin was to be an inflation hedge, it should necessarily go down. The best way to look at Bitcoin is that is a risky asset. And as a risky asset, that means in a risk-off environment, which is when everybody's scared and everybody's going into TLT and they're getting out of equities and whatever, you should expect the same from Bitcoin in general. It may not, it may not happen lockstep, but overall, if the other markets are trending down, the Bitcoin should trend down with them. Bitcoin should not continue up, if they start going down, Bitcoin should not go, well, we're going to take this, this opportunity to just shoot out higher. That doesn't make sense, because Bitcoin is very risky to be in. And when everybody's getting out of the equity markets, that means it's a risk-off environment. And usually one of the first things to go are the most risky assets. So this is something I've been trying to talk about for the last year or two to get you all ready for stuff like that. But, people still want to argue because they don't want to be traders. They want to get into Bitcoin and make a ton of money as it goes up. And that's what they want. But they don't want to trade. They just, they have these dreams in their head of how they would have bought at the swing low with all this excess money that they don't have anyway, and how that would have ballooned up into these ridiculous profits afterward. And it's just, there's a lot going on in a new retail trader's head that they have to really check themselves with, because a lot of it doesn't make a lot of sense. And you have to step back sometimes and really kind of look at that. Really. TWC is tailored especially to traders, yes, and not just any traders. We've got members who started just as brand new, and they start at the beginning. We have other traders who have been decently profitable. They just want to hone their skills. We have other traders who maybe just have not been able to figure out how to get into that consistently profitable method, and they're in as well. So everything we do assumes that you don't know what I know when it comes to how do markets move at the beginning. And everything's built up from that. Yeah. We have a lot of members that are tuning in right now. They'll tell you what they think. I bend over backwards, though, to help you guys learn. But at the end of the day, here's the deal, guys. And I keep saying this because I'm from Texas. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I can give you all the information in the world that I have. And I think I do it in a very good way, a very easy to understand way. But until you're actually ready to accept that what you think about the markets when you first come in is not how they really are, as long as, there's going to be that disconnect. And that's a hard time anytime for new traders, is to get out of the, because I can log in and do it, then I know what I'm doing. You don't have to pass any tests or anything to trade crypto, especially, right? I mean, if you're going to trade stocks or whatever, you may have to have a certain level of capital or whatever, but, Bitcoin, you don't. And so a lot of people get in and they think just because they get in that they know what they're doing. And most of the time, as a new trader, what you believe is actually wrong. And it's really hard to kind of accept that and to humble yourself to learn. And again, that's coming from me, somebody who screwed around for the first 4 or 5 years of my trading, lost a stupid amount of money, and then finally decided to, really learn how it is. So these things I'm telling you guys are things that I've been through, and they're things that I know are consistent because I've talked to traders for the last 25 years. And everybody pretty much starts out the same way. We think the same thing. It takes that move to get beyond that. Yeah. But you can salt the hay. I like that. Yeah. And I try to. But, there's only so much, we can do. In the future, do you think investment funds will recommend having at least 15% of Bitcoin in a respective investment portfolio, assuming Bitcoin price stabilizes around 80K? Honestly, I think there's a good possibility. Again, guys, if you've been around long enough and you've really listened to me, you know that I'm not a hater on Bitcoin. I love the idea of Bitcoin and the potential money that we can make with it, right? And I think nothing's happened yet that makes me think that we can't get to that point. I think that's where we should be headed. Now, anything can happen between now and, 3 years out or something, or 5 years out when they may be saying that. But I think right now it's safe to say that many are saying, well, you should at least have a couple of percent in there. A couple of percent of your portfolio should probably be it. And that's probably, I'm going to be honest with you guys, that's probably the smartest way to look at it. Because again, Bitcoin still has never been through a depression or a recession or anything like that. It's only known this secular bull market that we've had since the GFC, okay? That's all it's known. So we realistically don't know how Bitcoin will perform in those types of environments. Now, me personally, I think there's a good possibility, because what happens is when you first get into those recessions or depressions, everything drops, guys. That's all it is. Everything drops. Gold, silver, everything, right? But gold and silver and other precious metals tend to work their way back up before the market itself bottoms, the equities market. And I think that it's possible that Bitcoin actually might reverse prior to even gold or silver. I think that's a possibility, a good possibility. So so I think, there's definitely that possibility there. Right now is the time, though. Right now is where the governments are looking at regulation, especially strong-arm governments like the U.S., which, end up controlling a lot of... The U.S. has a significant amount of influence on other governments overseas because of its military and economic presence, okay? And I'm not saying that U.S. is better than anybody else. I'm just telling you this is the way it is, guys. And it's more important to understand the way it is than, anything else. And so whatever the U.S. kind of decides regulation-wise, they can push that out onto other countries, via just lost track of thought. Anyway, I'll think of it here in a minute. But, they've got all their tentacles that kind of reach out. FinCEN. There we go, FinCEN. And so, FinCEN can put that pressure on these other countries. to kind of follow in. So the other countries don't actually have to pass deep, hard regulation themselves. They just make themselves agents of the U.S., agents of the state, basically. So we'll have to see. Biden, wants to talk about this. He's going to exert pressure on the others of the G7 there. And we'll see how all this goes. But I think as long as there's anything too significant, I think we should see it there. Now, the question is, are they going to make Bitcoin accessible only to, people who meet like hedge funds? Hedge funds are only available to certain people, right? You, as an ordinary person that has less than less than $1 million in cash and assets and whatever, and aren't making $250,000 or more a year for the last couple of years, you're not a qualified investor, so you can't get into hedge funds. Now, there's the possibility they could make Bitcoin that same way. That doesn't hurt the hedge funds or anything, but it does hurt the little guy who then can't get access to it. So that's a possibility. Yeah. So some thoughts on that. Yeah. That's what you're going to ask about the crypto market as a whole, what the effects of crypto or cyber pandemic, stock market crash, CBDCs, war on China, on whoever, how it affects. Yeah. Again, guys, I think if you go back to where I was talking in the beginning, I think the idea of blockchain and distributed ledger, I think it's just a form of control. Bitcoin and other things are a way to get you excited about it, get you fanatical about it, which gets everybody else interested in it, makes it more mainstream, lets people accept it. And then I think that it's just a form of control, though. I think so. So I think when it comes to other countries like China, or you're looking at pandemic stuff, cyber pandemics, stock market, CBDC, it just becomes a tool in all that, I think, really. So is crypto winter upon us? We don't know for sure yet. It's possible. So what you're going to look for right now, guys, is, again, I believe we've probably got 5 down here toward this, mid-20s, mid to upper 20s kind of area. And then what you're going to look for is, do we get 3 waves up to around this 38, 40,000 area, and then a rejection and move back down? If we do that, then we're going 5 more down, and we're probably hitting that 16,000 area at least, potentially lower. However, if we break out above that, it's basically this area here of the triangle. If we're breaking out above that, it starts significantly increasing the odds that this is the bottom and we've started the next move up. But we're going to have to really see. We might be able to get ahead on it depending on what's going on down here. Looking at this in terms of Wyckoff, as this continues to play out. We'll just watch that volume and that price action. In this lower area here. But we might be able to tell down in this area if we're going to get that move up, if this is the bottom or not. But at least, we'll look for the move down here and either 3 up toward this area and then 5 back down, or we're looking for a breakout. And if it breaks out, then no crypto winter will continue up higher for right now. I hope that makes sense. I tend to explain things, repeat things a couple of times or explain them in different ways if I'm able to, just to hopefully make it easier to understand. I know some people it's a little bit irritating, but for others, especially if you're new to trading and understanding and all this stuff, the idea is hopefully to get you in a way that you can understand what I'm saying. Now, see, where do you see Bitcoin in 10 years? There's nothing that I can say from a technical standpoint that can answer that question. I can tell you from my emotional position what I think it might be, but that doesn't do you any good. And, and that's the way anybody else can be, okay? Just understand that. I know we want to know the answers to those questions because they make our decisions easier. But the reality is, again, guys, I want to point out, this is the reality here. This is Bitcoin, right? On the weekly, right? So this is Bitcoin back here in 2010, 2009 area, right? This is the GFC ending here. So all we've known about Bitcoin is what it does right here in this secular bull market as equities have continued higher as well, right? Because we can toss on it, we can go on here and we can throw I just throw the Dow Jones on there. Whoops. Let's see here. New price scale. There we go. Let's put that on log. And so this is what we know of Bitcoin. We know that it moves up when the market is risk off. We know Bitcoin moves down when the market is risk on or risk off, right? And we know that it moves up when the market is risk off. God, I hope that makes sense. I think I screwed that up. If the market is risk on, then we know that's equity's rising here. Then we know Bitcoin's going to go up. But we know when the market is risk off that Bitcoin drops. You see how it lines up here? It's not that Bitcoin is related to NASDAQ. It's more along the lines that Bitcoin is more like the NASDAQ, like the other exchanges, the indexes, Dow Jones, stuff like that. It's that it's reacting to what's going on with the dollar is more what it is. I think in general. Again, there's not going to be exact movements often between them. It takes time for what's going on with the dollar to make its effects out on the rest of the markets. So, the minute the dollar drops or rises, you're not going to have everything else drop or rising usually. But it's in general what's going on there. So where do we see it in 10 years? Well, barring anything crazy happening, I think we see it up, upper six figures at least. If not, maybe hitting seven figures. But there's so much that can happen before then. And so right now here in the U.S., we are having a change in the social mood and what's going on. And this is shown by the government, where, it's been coming the last 20 years. Again, you came through, so after Clinton, you jumped on, you had Republican, Democrat, coming in this way, right? But the real big change started with, 9/11, in which case we passed the Patriot Act, which at the time I was yelling to everybody that, hey, this is not going to go away. It's going to become ingrained in what we do because it took away a lot of, it gave a lot more control over government. And that's what we've seen, right? And then we kind of worked up from that. And then we get to Obama, who came in and strong changes, Obamacare, stuff like that, right? And then we get to Trump, who is this whole other kind of crazy guy, right? I mean, they're all crazy guys. You got to understand. But he is this complete opposite of Obama, right? And that's what you're going to expect because of the way in which Obama started really trying to change things, right? I'm not arguing good, bad, or otherwise. I'm just saying the way he came in to change really kind of take hold and in one punch kind of say, this is what we're changing, right? And Trump comes in and he's the complete antithesis, right? Complete opposite. But in both of them, government gained more power. And so then we get to Biden now, and Biden is continuing, but on a much stronger footprint now, what Obama kind of started. So Obama does this big, huge change, and then it pulls back a bit overall kind of with Trump, but government still has more power, right, overall. And then Biden gets in to kind of continue this move up here. So we've got this change in social structure, and it's important because that's going to affect the regulations that are going to be placed on crypto. So this is just, this is me kind of being realistic about your question here and saying, well, a significant change can happen over the next year or two. And Bitcoin may not get up there. Now, again, at the end of the day, I think Bitcoin, I don't see any reason for it not to remain right now. I do think there's a strong possibility it could just become, and cryptos in general could become available here in the U.S. only for accredited investors, kind of like hedge fund stuff. Again, it's the thing I've been warning about for the last 2 years or so, potentially coming up. But nobody knows right now. I don't want you to give a whole lot of thought to what anybody's 5-year or 10-year ideas about Bitcoin are. There's too many moving parts right now, too many unknowns to really give you anything that would give you the information you need to make large decisions like that. It really just is at that point that either you believe it's going to go up or you don't. But in either case, you have to understand that the money you're putting into it needs to be something that you can afford to lose and it will not affect you financially. It's got to be absolutely something that the equivalent to what you would spend on going out on dinners and partying and whatever, that doesn't hurt you. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, guys. Again, I'm not here to scare you or to be contrary. I'm not here to blow sunshine up your rear end. I'm here to just kind of give you a realistic thought about what's going on here. Everybody else out there is telling you what you want to hear, or maybe the exact opposite of what you want to hear. In either case, they're very convicted on their position. And many of those who are telling you what you want to hear are those who have a monetary stake in you believing them and putting more money in the market to continue it going higher, guys. Exchange owners, other, ancillary crypto businesses. I don't. I'm a trader. I'm here to teach you how to trade up and down, multiple markets. So whether Bitcoin goes up or not doesn't affect what I do as a business. So at least you get that from me. So that allows me, again, not to be... now, if I blew sunshine up your rear end, we'd probably have thousands and thousands of members now instead of, 300 or 400. But we've got a great group of people. Not everybody talks, but they don't have to. Do what you're comfortable with. I just hope you learn. That's what I want you to do, is learn. I don't want you to have to depend on me or anybody else to tell you when to buy or sell. I want you to be able to do that for yourself. Yeah, the scenario where Bitcoin doesn't exist in the next 5 years is not completely impossible. Exactly. And that would be especially true if we hit up into some, again, I've been talking about this big depressionary bust thing kind of going. And if something like where that happened, that to me would probably signal the biggest chance that Bitcoin would have of actually dying out. Now, that's also going to be the signal in which government really steps up control and switches you from fiat to, some central banks some central banks stable coin. That's when that would happen, most likely. I mean, really kind of just do that big old overhaul. Guess what? Today you're here, tomorrow you're here. That's it. Because, again, when there's big moves, especially the downside in the markets, government tends to step in, to protect you. And that's, of course, it's never for protection, really, contrary to what they, the excuse they give you. So, yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, guys, and here's the thing, the whole tether thing, I mean, that's what I've been warning you about. If we have that big kind of move down in the markets, that's going to put a lot of pressure on tether. Because again, remember we talked about when they showed, when they sent this stuff to the NYAG showing what they, the breakdown of their reserves and how more than half of that, significant portion of that was commercial paper, which they didn't tell us who it belonged to. So if it's really cruddy commercial paper, really bad commercial paper, and the market itself, the economy dies off, and the market itself drops huge, I mean, that commercial paper ain't worth flip. Which means tether then, its reserves aren't worth flip. And, that could cause a huge crash in tether. Which, believe it or not, guys, is going to affect Bitcoin. Now, would something like that be enough to take out Bitcoin? I'm not sure about that today. But that would definitely be something that would affect it. For sure, negatively. I can't tell you where to short or to long. Personally, I can say that right now I'm looking for a breakdown below the swing low. I'm looking for some rejection here to head on down lower, potentially down here to 27 or maybe even 24 area. But I want to see a rejection and a push down below the swing low there. To just pick a point without a breakdown to short, I think, is asking for trouble. And if it breaks down below this swing low, it doesn't mean it has to continue lower, but it means, again, your odds are much more likely it will. I'm looking for this to come down at least here toward this 27,000, kind of low 27,000s area there. Yeah. Let me see here. You took profit in the 40K. Oh, the 40K is play money. but it hurts to see it shrink. Yeah, you just want to make sure that, guys, whenever you put, and I say this because I've talked to so many of y'all over the last 2 years who have put everything you have. Some people taking out loans to put into crypto, man. Don't do that. I don't care what some yahoo tells you. You have to be lucky that that price goes up. Imagine, all it takes is you taking out a loan up here to buy crypto and then doing this. Now, can you take out a loan to buy crypto? Sure, you can if you've got the money to pay it back, and it doesn't change your life, your how well you're living, your quality of life. If it hurts you to pay back that loan, you have to change the way you're living and everything, well, then maybe you shouldn't be doing that loan. If you can't afford to pay it back, you definitely shouldn't be doing that. People taking out extra mortgages on their homes, that's the dumbest thing. It's good if it goes up, but if it goes down, it sucks. And many of y'all aren't strong enough to hold on for it to come down and then go back up. You'll sell at a loss. It's just wasted money, guys. Don't put yourself in that situation. I don't care what some yahoo online is telling you. That's just stupid. You don't want to put yourself in a bad situation, okay? You only buy what you can afford. That's the way it should be. Exactly. If you do that, then you know what? You've got a better ability to hold longer if it goes down lower. If it goes to zero, it sucks, but, you're still living the way you were living, right? But if it goes up, hey, there's a great windfall, right? That's the way it should be. I've seen too many people getting in here, and they're trying to get rich overnight. They're trying to get 10 times over next week or 100 times over next week. Just because it happens every once in a while. But if you're just coming into trading and you're trying to do that, get out. Because you don't have the skill. To get something like that, you have to actually understand where to buy in low, at what point to buy in to get that kind of return. And even those of us that understand that aren't going to really get it most of the time. It's just the way it is, guys. Okay? Yeah, Matt Partridge, I've been talking about it a few times. You can zoom back in the show. You can see the charts here where I'm initially looking for price to go right now. But I've discussed in other parts of the show here some couple ideas, but larger macro ideas where it may be going. Yeah, serious problem gambling is, Kevin, for sure, man, for sure. Let me see here. Just trying to catch up to you guys there. TV Canal says, I don't think 27 will hold. Looks like 20 for me. But it has to get there. How does it get there? That's the question. It's possible these mid-20s hold as a temporary support for a bounce. Again, this becomes 5 down, ABC up, and then 5 more down, in which case we should go below here, and we're probably looking, again, at least to this area here. But potentially, if we're looking at an ABC here, let's say we get it there and we come back up this point. Let's see. Well, that doesn't work, does it? Get back on here. Fib levels based on log scale. There we go. So this gives us a 1-to-1 here at this 15,900 kind of area. But I think we might get it prior to the larger volume node here. I think if we're dropping through that, we're probably heading closer to this area down here. It's 11 to 12,000 as we're watching that. So it depends. Like I said, I think we get this move here, and then we get either a bounce, and then further down to do an ABC, or even a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a, or this is the bottom here, and instead of just a bounce, we get a reversal and we continue up through here. So I think, we move down, we push back up to this area, and then we either come down or we continue higher. Simple as that. I mean, everything else aside, that's, I think, what we're looking at. Now, I could be wrong, but, if it happens before we're getting down here and it pushes up impulsively through the pivot, the 4-hour pivot, the 1-hour pivot right there, then I think that's maybe, makes a case for the bottom being in. But barring that happening, I think we get down into those, to those targets that I was talking about, 27, 200 maybe. or, again, maybe even a little bit lower there, or maybe just a bit higher, just in that general area. And then we come back up for either, like I said, either a bounce or it's a reversal. So we'll see how that plays out there. Let's see here. Yeah, TV canal. I've gone over, I think, probably something like what you're talking about there. You'll have to check it out earlier in the video there. And potentially other episodes that we've done here, other shows that we've done where I've talked about it as well. Yeah. So, that's kind of where we're looking with all that. Everybody kind of wants to know now, and you can't blame you, is this the end? Or is this just, the beginning? Is this a double pump? And none of us know for sure, guys. None of us know for sure. But I've given you the possibilities as for how it could play out. So now you have to do is just trade along those levels. That's all you have to do is trade along those levels. And either it breaks down to the lower levels that we talked about, or it breaks out up, and in which case then we're looking, at 98,000, potentially 126, maybe even 190, depending on how that plays up. So yeah. Look at that. Yeah, no worries, man. I know. Like I said, you can just check it out. It's elsewhere in the episode here. Can you check when we can have a reversal? That's what I've spent this last 2 hours talking about. Yeah, so just roll back in the video, and you'll see my thoughts. Some possibilities to watch. Yeah. Gonna sell your Lambo to buy more Bitcoin? So, that's kind of what I'm looking at as far as it goes there, and how I think it kind of applies with everything else, whether you look at the dollar, TLT. Again, we took a look at the TLT Bitcoin relationship. We looked at TLT junk here and its relationship. We looked at TLT by itself. We looked at the dollar there, what's going on there potentially. We know where we need to see price moving through there. But also what it could mean if this is the bottom here and how that would affect, I talked about how that would potentially affect the rest of the markets there, which, don't seem very strong at the moment. We looked at, the NASDAQ, the S&P E-minis, and the Dow Jones. They're not looking overly strong. Doesn't mean they can't become strong, but right now, again, they're not looking very resumptuous of the upside. So we're going to need to see some resolution, either higher or break down lower, to kind of get a good feel of if we've got a little bit higher still to go, or if that's it. But again, with all the new regulations coming in and everything else coming in, it wouldn't be a surprise that, here in the U.S. anyway, that, the markets take some hits to them. And the question is, how far does that go then? TLT are your long-term government securities. So when the markets go to risk off, when people get scared, they'd usually move their money from equities into TLT, or from their other risky assets into TLT. And remember, Bitcoin is one of the riskiest assets out there. So yeah. So we've got that rise in that ratio. And then of course TLT against junk bonds. Junk bonds are just your corporate bonds. They're a lot more. They're not as safe, nowhere near as safe as your TLT, as your government bonds. So the government right now, with the inflation that we're seeing, this near term spike in inflation that we've got going on potentially that we're seeing, inflation of prices, which again I think is just such a misnomer. It's not. Prices don't inflate, they rise or they fall, right? But with that coming there, I think that's just more of a product of the government working on the yield curve, which we've talked about. And I think they've kind of backed themselves into a corner. I think they're going to have to raise rates, near-term rates. They've been trying to take pressure off the near term and put it on the back end. But I don't think that's going to work. I think they're going to have to, some I've been talking about it, they're going to have to rates. And if the interest rates rise, the dollar rises in value because the dollar becomes more valuable. You're getting more return on it, right? So that's why the interest rates are so important. If you see interest rates rising, you should expect that the dollar in general is going to rise. In general. Because again, if you can loan out your dollars and get paid more in interest, it's a more valuable product. It's a more valuable dollar, right? And then the DXY, you're just comparing it against other countries' currencies in a weighted basket. So yeah, a lot of at this crux that we're in right now, there's a lot that may happen, a lot that could happen, a lot that could get answered right now, coming up soon. Soon within, the next month or so, 2 months maybe. Yeah. You keep your crypto as crypto. Well, anytime you exchange a crypto for another or a stable coin in the U.S., that is a taxable event. Doesn't matter if you don't move to fiat. If you take Bitcoin and you sell it for Tether, that's a taxable event. Absolutely, 100% a taxable event. So you need to report that. Okay? Let's see here. Yeah, I'm about to get done here. Can you tell us what you think about Ethereum? Same path? Let me see here. I've got Ethereum. Ethereum was my holdout. Ethereum was the one I was like, well, Bitcoin isn't looking so great, but Ethereum is looking all right. So maybe, Ethereum might pull Bitcoin to the other possible scenario. But Ethereum, let me see if I can find it here real quick. I've got a chart. Let me see what we were looking at here from last night. Yeah, pull it up over here. So my running count that I've had on here is a 1, is a 2, is a flat here. And then 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a 1, 2, 1, 2. At this point, man, it really becomes hard to kind of hold this. I mean, right now it hasn't invalidated this count yet, but it's pretty close. I don't think it's invalidated. Let me check real quick. Low 2275, 22, 23 or 2308. Yeah. So it's still a little bit above here. So technically this count can be correct. That close to the invalidation level though. Well, it's not. Yeah, it is that one. I'm not sure how I'm not sure how much of a fan I am of that. What you're really looking for, I mean, because you could always look at this maybe as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So even this, you can get a 1 up here, and that only gives you this little bit more room here to 2182.20. And it looks like it wants to lose that. Because if we do this as a 1 here, then this is, ABC, ABC is A, ABC is B. And then you're looking for, maybe this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's possible. But it could also be a 1, 2 with a short 2. And we can here get this bigger breakdown. With Bitcoin breaking down like it is, that puts a lot of pressure on the Ethereum here. Ethereum needs to get above, really, above this wave B over here. I've got this as an A down, a B up, and then a C here. So I need to see Ethereum break out above 29.99 and 99 cents. Until it does that, it's really vulnerable to further downside. And if we lose this swing low right here, I think that really... I mean, it's still possible that we have... Man, I don't even know how you do that at that point. Because right now we've got this as a 1 here with an A down, a B up, and a C here as a flat. If this is dropping down below this, this just looks like an ABC then. And then maybe a 1, 2, 1, 2 coming down. You see? So yeah. Is it possible a sudden event or large-scale issue that might cause either the... so you're talking about China or Russia? to be the stable coin to have as a hedge again? I don't think so. Remember, part of the reason, the biggest part of the reason why the U.S. dollar is the world's reserve currency is because of the size of our economy. So what we can provide to other countries economically in form of aid or whatever. But the other thing is our military. That's really the other thing there. And it's because we have the most advanced military in the world, and we've got boots on the ground in all 190 or 91 countries that the U.S. currently recognizes as countries. So it's the spread of our military, the advance, how advanced it is, and the ability to be anywhere in the world in 24 hours, combined with our economic strength, that really gives the dollar that reserve currency value. So you gotta look at it that way, I think. And so that's why when everybody says, "Oh, hyperinflation," it doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of people, try to draw a parallel to the Weimar Republic. I've gone over it a few times before, glossed over it. I don't have the time to get into the specifics of that, but if you really do your research on what happened with the Weimar Republic and hyperinflation over there, you'll see it's not what most people online get you to think it is. Most of the people in social media. So there really aren't parallels there. And like I said, the biggest thing that the U.S. going, the whole hyperinflation issue, I think it's just a non-issue at the moment. I don't think it's really an issue to worry about at all. I think it's silly to kind of think of it right now. There's too many moving parts. There's too many ways in which, because people that are saying hyperinflation, they're looking at the dollars printed by the Fed, but they're not looking at how those dollars actually get into the market and how they result, in treasuries and the Fed collecting all that back up and how the money doesn't really actually enter the market. Hyperinflation is going to have to come from, banks giving out loans. That's where your inflation really, really kind of comes from. Everything else is just what they call price inflation, which isn't really inflation. It's just a rising of prices. Because again, prices don't become fatter or thinner. There isn't more of a price or less of a price. Price rises or it falls. So when you say price inflation or price deflation, that's really a misnomer. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. But yeah, so there's a lot of differences in that. But again, people are going to do what they're going to pull there. Please understand, most of the people that you guys are probably looking at, especially if they're large accounts on social media, they don't have a real economics background. They don't have a real finance background. Many of them don't even have a real trading background, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. So be careful what you're saying, or what they're potentially saying to you. Okay. So yeah. But yeah, here in the U.S., guys, do remember that any movement from one crypto to another, or from crypto to fiat, is going to be a taxable event in the U.S. It is all taxable. It's not just, you don't just get it taxable if it goes to fiat. Anytime you're recognizing a loss or a profit, it's a taxable event there. So be careful. Don't fall into this conclusion that you don't have to pay taxes because you just moved from Bitcoin to Tether or something. Okay. Hey, I appreciate you guys. I don't think Monero is going to stay anonymous for too long, guys. I'm sure government's probably already breaking its encryption right now. And working on the way it works, Understand that anything when it comes to electronics or computers, programming, all encryption is going to get broken at some point. Okay? And the last thing you want to do is to think, you can hide anonymously in there and do it. I mean, do what you need to do personally. I would advise you against it. It doesn't, it's like I said, everything else, Tor, broken. It's now, the encryption was broken. The FBI knows it all now. So Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, the blockchain probably get broken at some point as well. Yeah. Everything is transient. I'm going to leave on this today, guys. I got to get out of here. But, our Fed, is talking about inflation being transitory right now, right? Everything's transient. Everything is just limited. Okay? Now, when will it do it? Those are always the questions. How long is it transient? How long is it going to be? Yeah, exactly, temporary. That's the question. But everything, nothing stays the same. Change is inevitable. All throughout life and in the markets, guys. Those that move along and do the most with that are those that accept that. Those that fight it, whether in life or in the markets, find that life or the markets are much more difficult. You have to accept that the change is inevitable, guys. The only thing constant is change, right? So, yeah. Don't forget, dollar's been, people have been romanticizing about the death of the dollar for really since the 70s. So 50 years now. It's always at this time like it is right now. Again, take it for what it's worth, guys. I've been around the markets for a quarter of a century now. But at times right now where everybody's very bearish on it, and they've been like this many times before, that's usually the point at which the dollar takes off and reminds them that, hey, be quiet. But we'll see. Again, we've got the levels we got to look for on the dollar and see how that works there, okay? So I hope you guys have a great day. Again, a lot of what I give out here are more macro ideas that may or may not play out. But the one thing you can be assured of is that they are based on, real things, real ideas, the way government does work, and stuff like that. So you just got to be careful out there. Don't think that the government's going to do for you. Every government, every part of the world has an agenda for itself. If they do something for you, it's just a byproduct of that. Okay? So just be careful out there, guys. I want you guys to be safe. I want you to be, to get yourselves out of the point where you've got the freedom. Okay? So I appreciate you guys joining in. Those that didn't act like idiots. I think everybody got rid of most of those. To the guys that I made as mods there, guys, thank you so much for jumping in there and helping out. I really appreciate that. I hope you guys have a great day. Remember, I'll be back on Friday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, okay? But again, if you guys want to join us and you want to get something more often, join us here at howtotradetowin.com. We'd love to have you. But don't forget, if you're looking to do maybe like a year-long Tier 3 thing, wait till later today. I'm going to post a link. I'll give you guys a coupon code, and you're going to get half off of the full price there, our normal full price. Okay? So you guys have a great day. Y'all trade safe. And if I don't see you with us over in Discord, I hope I see you guys on Friday, all right? Take care, everybody. Remember, the only thing you control in the market is how much you lose. That's it. Take care.